Morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Bread for Soul Convos with myself, Sir LSG, and hope you are having a great start to the week. If it's your first time watching the show, welcome. If you are a regular viewer, thank you so much for your ever unending support. I mean, this show is really about sharing knowledge and experiences with one another so that we can better navigate this whole music industry and the industry that we want to be in better. But also, secondly, I think there's a lot of positive life lessons that I personally get, myself, from the different guests that I have on the show. And this morning's show, I am happy to be hosting that guy you just saw now, radio personality, DJ and producer, and a public speaker, winner of the ex-South Africa DJ competition, which saw him performing and opening for Black Coffee in Ibiza. Named as one of the top 200 influential young people by the Mail and Guardian, and also played in the Netherlands, Germany, France, Greece, Turkey, and Norway, just to name a few. His parents named him Kutlwano Ntlapo, but he just decided, I'm going to go with the KRUK. Welcome to the show, my brother. How are you? Welcome.
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great, brother. I'm great. Thank you for joining me this morning.
You're getting good at this, man. Sounds like I'm on MRL on sports.
Yeah. No, that's where we need to be projecting. We need to be projecting the show to those levels, So when you reach there, exactly, my brother, exactly. But bro, I'm so happy to have you on the show. I think you are one of the people that have been grinding behind the scenes, really putting in the work, that has seen you playing abroad, You've been hosting your show for a full 8 years, you told me, on YFM. And but still, do you ever feel like you're not recognized enough?
All the time, man. All the time. Funny enough, I had a conversation with a friend, and he asked me a very difficult question, what do you want from this thing? Do you want validation from the industry, or are you in it to say that there are certain things that you were able to achieve? You know what I mean, from where you come from, and I feel the latter spoke to me. The fact that I've played overseas, the fact that I do get like organic bookings overseas, and people actually pay to see me overseas. You know what I mean? The fact that I was the first radio show on YFM to be Liberty Radio Award nominated out of all the shows ever. You know what I mean? The fact that I was able to bring them up here into a lot of people's ears. You know what I mean? When like people didn't care about the sound, they thought the sound was just something that was gonna die out or wasn't gonna be anything. You know what I mean? So it started being more of a mental shift, more than an actual. I actually feel more worthy in this industry. So and once we had that conversation, like I've been fine, man. Like I've really, 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 really been fine.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I can relate, because to a certain extent I could see myself as somebody who is not really given the credit for the work that I've done in the past, but also on the other hand, you look at other people who've been doing work before me, and they themselves are not properly recognized, if I may put it that way. But also, I think the most important thing is to give yourself recognition for what you feel you've done, for the good that you feel you've done. And I think we miss that part, because so many times we want somebody else to come and say, you're doing great, here's a deal, here's whatever. But when you know yourself, the work that you've done, and you know your worth, I think that's much more fulfilling at first, before, of course, the other stuff can come and can mean so much more as well. But I think it really starts with us as individuals, to really what authenticate the work that we do. You know what I mean? I want to
Yeah.
start back a bit, man. Like with regards to your earliest memories of music. What were those like? Just growing up in your household, what were some of your earliest memories of music?
Man, my dad used to listen to everything, bro. Like my dad, like is was that guy, bro. Was that guy. So, he listened to everything from acid jazz to deep house to soul and R and B to hip hop. You know what I mean? To Kwaito. So yeah, like he was that guy, man. He used to buy music from Bo Viva. You remember Viva
Yeah,
Record Show?
yeah,
He used to buy music from Look and Listen, um, and very other like unorthodox like record shops. You know what I mean? And I remember the first time I think listening to. There's a compilation called Lazy Dog. Kya Benoit Le Jay
yeah.
and that's when I realized that like damn man, this is what I want to do. Like I want to be a DJ. Like this is it. Like that thing for me like just took me to different places, man. Like you'd be sitting on the table and you'd be EQing certain things. You know what I mean? When you're listening to the music, you'd be thinking that you're at a party. You'd be feeling carry. You're playing for like 10,000 people and that's how like it came about, man. That's when I realized that like this thing is really what I want to do, and this is where like my joy lies, you know.
Sure, sure. And
Yeah.
before actually we carry on with the interview, with the chat, I wanna just throw a question of the day to people who are watching. If you're watching on your laptop, on your phone, on your mobile, today's question of the day is: do you think the music industry is welcoming or unwelcoming of new talent? So if you are watching the show, please share your answers in the comment section from the different pages that we are cross-posting from, and we will play out those answers towards the end of the show. Do you think the music industry is welcoming or unwelcoming of new talent? And I ask this because a former colleague of yours, Scoop Makatini, posted something regarding hip hop, hip hop acts. He was specifically Casper, Questa, and AKA saying these guys need to chill a bit, and give some of the younger people a chance to get into the industry so we can hear new stories, because he felt that they are not really telling us anything new, and in the way that they are telling it, there's nothing new about it. So he was just like, guys, take a break, and he got a lot of backlash for that. What's your feeling with regards to our industry and new talent?
To be honest, man, I understand where Scoop came from, and I understand where the 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 three other guys came from. Yes, Scoop maybe might feel hore. I think the way he was trying to put it out there was to actually say that we are not creating a succession plan in hip hop. I think that's what he meant. That instead of you guys constantly working in silos, working alone, wanting to be the king of South African hip hop, we should be working to try feature more younger artists on more of your prominent songs, so that we can also give them a platform that nobody would have given. You know what I mean? So that we can almost like fast track the situation. So I think that's what he meant, and that's just like how I looked at it. And And from the artist side, which is Casper, AK, and Questa, they also made sense that like who kicked down the doors for us, you know, who gave us an opportunity, who said, okay, yeah, we are chilling now. It's time for you guys. Nobody, you know what I mean? And and
Yeah.
and 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 and, and that's the reality of the matter. That like, to be honest, for you to be the king of the jungle, like, you almost need to tackle the guy that was known as the last king. You know what I mean? Or maybe you may, or maybe you need to make yourself worthy to be sitting at the table with the kings of the jungle. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And maybe they feel that maybe some of the younger guys are trying to do that, but the consistency in the work isn't really there. You know, maybe they're just happy by popping on the internet or having a couple of few songs. You know what I mean? And getting glorified amongst their circles, but they haven't started looking at like crossing over, you know, and making music that will start speaking to a broader audience and not just like the hip hop fraternity.
Mm. Man,
Yeah,
and I think for me, I'm two ways about it too, you know, because I know how difficult it is to really firstly crack into the industry, and secondly
yeah,
to remain there for as long as possible, you know, like, because for me, I see it as a long-term career, you know. It's like somebody who's an accountant, you know, surely wants to be an accountant for the rest of their lives, and this is how I see me and music and the entertainment industry. But I know also how difficult it is to be given those chances, you know. I had Black Coffee on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned a guy from Limpopo.
amazing interview, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Amazing interview. Like, I've had encounters with Branati, but you you touch the vessel, man. Like, it's not every day that you hear him like being that honest about things, you know.
Yeah, and that open too, you know,
Yeah,
like I really,
yeah,
yeah, I've been blessed, man, you know, like I was even like, what? Did I get that 2 hours? Anyway, so he mentioned this guy, the Africa Deep from Limpopo, you know, that he heard this guy's music, and when he spoke to the guy was like, he doesn't know what to do with the music, he doesn't know how to grow the music and how to grow himself as a brand, as an artist, you know. And I think those are some of the challenges that new artists are faced with. But everybody was new at some point, you know. And I think that
yeah,
for me, especially with this particular show, I want that, you know, our failure to get by as artists should not be based on lack of information or lack of knowledge, you know, and should rather be based
yeah,
on whether somebody has the grit to do it, whether somebody has the drive to actually go the extra mile, to learn and to
yeah,
build themselves, you know, but not because we are keeping information from one another, you know what I mean?
definitely.
So with the topic of young artists, especially coming into the game, I think definitely there needs to be a much more openness in with regards to how, you know, just giving platforms. But also, there's a million other artists who want the same platforms that
The
we
same
want.
platform.
You know, it's the same platforms, and the platforms aren't enough to be hosting everyone. That's just the way it is. And I think it just goes into how am I as an individual able to track, you know, the different platforms and navigate my way around the different platforms, so I can also be seen, you know, like you say, at the same table as people who've been doing it for years, 10 years, 20 years. There's another lady, a deep house DJ, Judy J, who was on the Lockdown House Party this past weekend. And she
Yes,
made a
yes,
few,
yes, from Limpopo.
yeah. She's 18 or 19. She's very young, you know, like, and she made a few mistakes on a set. But I'm like, when I was 18, I wasn't playing on national radio or national TV.
TV,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? So that's a bonus for her. And she's young. And what I liked about somebody who's young and just gets into national television and does what she does, in about 10 years' time or 5 years' time, we're gonna see that lady, you know, growing leaps and bounds as long as she's like stays consistently. But I really hate the fact that some of the people who firstly cannot get onto those platforms, or unable to be given chances onto those platforms, now feel bitter and feel like they can go after an 18-year-old telling her gore a kgone go mix and whatnot. And I think that's just a change of attitude that we need to have, with as people in the industry, that if one of us gets a chance to be on a certain platform, the best thing we can do for that person is to support, and support comes in many ways, but the best thing we can do is support. Anyway, I wanted to get that off my mind. I want to ask you, bro, like, who gave you your chances?
I think my biggest break came from Mo Flavor, man. Like he at the time he needed I've always wanted to work for Y. I've been a custodian of the product for years, man. Like I used to listen to Kapzela growing up on Sundays, you know what I mean? I used to listen to Fresh when he still did the afternoon show. It was called The Easy Drive. And he still had the Vinyl Meltdown.
Yeah.
From Vinyl Meltdown into Mad Half Hour. And then Fresh went and did Breakfast. I listened to Fat Joe and Y. I listened to Natty Nice, you know what I mean? So that was my thing, like that was like radio was really, 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 really my thing. And then I started working at UJFM when I was in tertiary, and then I got there. I started off as a sports presenter. After being a sports presenter, I was a co-host, and then I eventually got my own show, but it was not like a music show. It was a sex show.
What?
So I spoke about sex, dog. So I spoke about sex, but like, there was such a cool, like, that was almost like a cool thing to do, because like it taught me how to manipulate the platform, you know what I mean? And basically use the art and not lose myself within the art, because can you imagine you're at UJ, you've got a sex show, and a lot of people now think that you're this guy that is so knowledgeable about sex. But that just came from research, like I read a lot on Kama Sutra. I learned a lot on like sex poetry, sex talk, and like just a lot of like genuine like sexual education, and that show like became like a hit, and the show found its way to Mo Flavor's ears. And when his then producer was leaving, Teko, he hit me up and was like, "Hey man, I'm looking for a producer for my show." And in and amongst all the other people that he had told that he's looking for a producer, and I put together a proposal of what the YFM Breakfast show is supposed to sound like, where it's supposed to go, where it's supposed to hit, you know what I mean, and what we're trying to get out of this. And dog, I was still staying at home, and like next up Loma David talk, when like he gave me that opportunity. And I remember I did 3 proposals. I didn't just do one. I did 3 proposals, and I asked him to choose one. And he sat on those proposals, I think, for like 4 or 5 months. And I thought, oh, snap, man, I'm not getting this. I eventually got a job at like the energy regulators as a researcher. And 3 months into the job at the energy regulators, I get a call to say, "Hey, man, you've got an interview at Y." And then got into that interview, and the rest was history, man.
Damn, bro. That's a story,
Yeah.
bro. That's a beautiful story. And I think it also tells that, yes, somebody can give you a chance, but you need to be ready for the chance too, I think firstly, putting together 3 proposals instead of one, many people would have just thought, nah, let me just do one proposal, give it to Mo Flavor, and most probably he'll get it. But you went overboard, and I think those are some of the things that when you put that extra effort, even before you have the chance, you don't have the opportunity yet, because you're not really working for Y yet. You're still trying to, but you're putting in the work, and when somebody sees it, it comes across to them as, this guy did 3, like he's committed to this thing. And if the proposals are dope themselves, then even more reason to have you on their team. So it does speak to, as an up and coming person, as an aspiring artist or radio personality, we do need to have those traits that, yes, I'm not on radio now. Like, I'm not on TV now, but I'm doing this show as if I'm on TV. 9 o'clock, I'm ready. I'm doing research for the show. I'm trying to make sure that me and my team got the graphics okay, the research is done on time and stuff like that. Because when I get the opportunity to be on TV, I'm not studying and really scraping like somebody who's beginning. I've been working on TV for 10 years. So my show, when it comes across, at least a bit of it has to show her name. Was a man, yeah. Well, also I know, but and while Oluko, you were producer of the year for 3 years in a row. And what was it about your production style that really got you that?
I think we had fun, bro. I think we had fun, man. I think there was just like a lot that we had put in to the product. There was a lot that we had invested of ourselves, be it relationships with our then partners or then girlfriends or whoever you were busy with then. And I remember very early, like during my YFM days, like I used to stay at one, so that I'm able to meet Bo Waras, to meet Bo Tolibi, to meet Bo Dineo Ranaka, you know what I mean, to meet Bo Puji, you know what I mean, and almost start carving relationships with those people, even though like they weren't like deep relationships, but just so that I'm not here and I'm going home. I'm not here and I'm going home. You know what I mean? Just so that if it is lunchtime and Dineo decides to walk in, we're able to have a little bit of a chat about radio. You know what I mean? And what her thought processes are. So it was an inculcation of like thought processes that I took to my production style. That okay, Toli's this guy, so he's trying to do this. So maybe let me try beat that. You know what I mean? Now I know what to beat. Dineo is this lady, and this is what she's trying to achieve. Let's try beat that. Waras is this guy. He's trying to do that. You know what I mean? Let's try beat that. And I also hung out with a lot of the technical producers, because if you do understand how radio works, the technical producers are the guys that cut promos on radio shows. So those are the actual guys that listen to the most radio than anybody else.
Yeah.
So technical producers are there just listening for moments. So they actually the first listener of the radio show, So those are the guys that you almost need to also familiarize yourself with, because those guys are very knowledgeable about the kind of shows that they work on, and did that and made a lot of friends with them, picked their brains on certain things. And luckily also Mo Flavor is just like a workhorse, you know what I mean? He also wants like a really, really dope product. He wants it seamless, he wants it smooth. And when a radio show does not work out, like it was personal, man. Like we just never had anything to celebrate. So it just became life, like it just became like a setback when like, let's say we're supposed to chat to LSG today. LSG had a scandal with another celebrity lady, blah 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 blah, and we can't get a hold of LSG now. And the plan was to have LSG first on the show, because we did a breakfast show. And if that didn't happen, then like the whole show was just a setback. So I never wanted to drop the ball on the show, and luckily it showed,
Right, and that's so important, like once you get into those spaces, to really not relax and you're just chilling, you do need to.
Bro.
It's almost like you need to work twice now just to keep the job and be seen, like within the work premises. Do you think the radio is still an important factor with regards to music culture. And I'm asking this because we see a lot of internet radio coming through, and my question actually really, I want to know, do you believe that, I mean, a part of me does, but a part of me does believe that radio is still important, but a part of me believes that radio has been overvalued at the moment, you know. But let me know, like, what are your thoughts with regards to that?
I think yes and no again. I think the programmers of radio shows, well, some have done like an amazing job in trying to keep like talent that is knowledgeable, that is very, very open-minded about the radio medium and what they want to do with that medium, you know what I mean? But to a certain extent, I also think that they've lost like the essence of what radio and the kind of guys that we should actually be putting on air versus the guys with the nicest voices or that can hold together a link and so on and so forth, you know. I was chatting to a friend about the concept of like Sound Supreme, you know, on KFM with Bokenzero, the music, Just Temba, and Louis Vega, you know. Yeah. Those guys aren't typically your normal like radio guys, you know. But because it's a music show and we know the kind of wealth that they bring from a music perspective, you overlook the stepovers in terms of links or how they sound and whatever, because you know these guys are going to bring you like the best in new music, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel that from a programming perspective, why YFM translated so well back in the day, you know, was because remember this lineup. I mean, Fresh and Tato used to do the breakfast show. After Fresh and Tato was Rude Boy and Unati, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they gave you a pulse of what's happening within the poetry circles, and almost like the hippie, the live music, underground Newtown circles, you know what I mean? And then there's Harambe now. That's like your pulse of hip hop, you know, with Bad Boy Tili and Sansa, you know what I mean? After that is DJ Screw doing the drive time show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you got like the pulse of the hood, you know?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like the whole hood is on the radio now, you know? And then later on, you've got a guy like AK who's also like a Kasi guy, but like almost like wraps up the lineup because he's got a love for house music and he's open about it and he's knowledgeable about that. He's got a love for hip hop, he's open about that, knowledgeable about that, and he's got a love for like live music and urban culture, you know. So that for me just spoke to what youth radio is supposed to be, you know. Like I feel guys like you should be on radio, you know what I mean? Guys like Kid Funk, reason why he's doing so well on radio is because he's got his audience, you know what I mean? Like he loves music, he's able to not speak too much and let the music do the talking, and is able to constantly introduce new music and new artists to us because that's his passion, you know what I mean? So it's that. So when like I look at like South African radio at the moment, I almost feel that we've got too many presenters and not enough culture custodians, and which makes the medium of radio very, 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 very volatile. And I think with that, it's slowly dying like a slow death.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and in a country where people in South Africa like still love radio, you know what I mean? Like it's quite unfortunate. I feel that like South Africa should be doing backflips on like radio and its programming and the texture of like different radio stations. But it's all doing one thing, man. We're just taking people with 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 like nice voices and with a couple of or a bit of a following on social media and throwing them into radio.
I think also the business side of it has probably the most reason why radio has turned out to be that way, because now stations that used to be about, okay, we are gonna drive what the culture is all about, and then they start seeing themselves and competing with alongside stations like Metro, and Metro also has changed along the years, who are now seemingly becoming a very commercial based station, in terms of revenue. That's like a big part of their focus. And I think the balance between being commercial enough to earn revenue as a radio station and still being authentic enough, to drive the culture and what's happening in the streets, that on its own, like it's quite a balance that hasn't been reached well, especially post the YFM, big history that you.
But I beg to differ when I LSG. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you are a custodian of culture and you understand how culture moves, is that everything that is culture driven should at least be given a 5-year span. And it shouldn't be a year on year or 2-year plans or whatever. You know what I mean? Because then you're going to make decisions that speak to the now and not to the next. You know what I mean? These guys like are thinking, am I gonna have a job next year, or are we going to be part of this wave, or you know what I mean? And not thinking what the actual next wave is, because if you actually if you just look at culture in general, if you're able to predict like the next wave, organically, you end up owning it. Yeah. And ownership means you can monetize it. Like you can when YFM started, none of those guys were superstars. None of those guys were on TV. None of those guys had PR. You know what I mean? They were just passionate guys. But a guy like Greg had like a 5-10 year plan. You know what I mean? And his team. You know what I mean? Not downplaying anybody and everybody else that was part of management at that time, but you could see this was like a generational plan and not just like a year on year kind of plan. You know what I mean? And hence why at the time that YFM was clocking 2 million listeners, they were trumping everybody. Like they were getting all the ad spend. They had the hottest parties. If it was Summer Awards weekend, whether they a media partner or not, they would go to Sun City and trump the Metro FM parties. You know what I mean? Because the YFM parties were just dope, and they spoke to what culture was. Like they were the pulse of culture. So yeah, man, that's why I just beg to differ. That like if you're going to get in a management seat, like and the first thing that they ask you, you're selling the platform short by saying to your bosses and the guys that are sitting on the board that give me a 2-year plan. You know what I mean? Culture does not work like that.
Sure.
Like culture minimum is 5 years, bro.
True. Man, I resonate with that so much. So, I mean, like you left YFM 2 months ago, is it? Recently?
I didn't really leave the station. I'm still a mixed DJ on the station, but I let go of my show called The Players Club that I've been doing for the past 8 years. That was my first like radio show on YFM. Had fun on that show. It did so much for youth urban culture, man. Like it was the second longest running show after after Rag Attack, yeah, Admiral and Jasid. You know what I mean? Can you
Yeah.
imagine, bro? Like,
Wow.
it's been crazy. Like, it's been a crazy 8 years. We were the first show to be nominated for a Liberty Radio Award at the station over like the over popular shows. We were able to give a home to Amapiano. We brought in everybody, bro. You mixed on the show, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it just spoke to who it needs to speak to, and was just part of like everyone's Saturday routine, whether you're at home, whether you're on a way to a party or back from a party, you know what I mean? And I've always wanted to get into like these spaces and like create history, you know. And I feel that that show had created history for me, and had solidified the contribution that I brought to Y, you know. And I also feel that if you are going to do like those kind of platforms, and you're lucky enough to have a show that does reach its peak, you know, you need to leave it while it's still hot, and don't leave it when it's dying out, when people are starting to gravitate towards something else. So it was time for me to like push myself again, to explore certain facets of what I've got to bring from a radio, music, DJing, and culture enthusiast perspective. And yeah, that's what I just decided to do, man. That, you know, like we've done well, we've done great. This show was able to do a lot for my brand, do a lot for a lot of other DJing brands, you know what I mean, that I brought with me. Because funny enough, I read a tweet that the reason why you were so blessed with the show was because you kept the door open for like young DJs to also be part of the success and the green grass that you had created, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, that's that for me is value, you know what I mean? That for me again is what I was talking about building a culture entity. It took me 8 years, dog. It took me 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years, and people walk in thinking that they can do a radio show for a year and a half, and be the hottest thing in Joburg. No, bro. You need to work for these things, bro. If Fresh is still on air today, my man, you need to work.
For sure. What are you working on right now? Because you now that you're no longer doing, you know, your Saturday show, but you still mix on Fridays, right? Or is it Mondays? On Y?
On Mondays, yeah.
On Mondays, yeah.
On Mondays on Y.
Yeah. What else are you up to?
I've been heavily involved in the family business, you know. I've been heavily involved in the family business. We do everything engineering. We do a lot of like HVAC stuff. So I've also been trying to do that because I feel legacy is important, and sometimes you need to do things that like might not speak to you at that point in time, but because another thing that I realized is that I'm growing. Like in my family, I'm the oldest cousin, you know. So there's gonna come a time where like my uncles, my granddad, my mother, my dad, my like aunts and whatever aren't there anymore, you know what I mean? And I'm going to need to spearhead the next for my family, you know what I mean, or for the generation that's coming after me. So that's been really, really important, just to figure out what kind of opportunities I can create for the next generation that's coming from my family. But from an entertainment side of things, let me tell you a story, man. Like as fate would have it, you know, like when you really, 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 really do like dope things and you're really dedicated to your craft. On the Saturday that I left the YFM radio show, on the Monday following that, I get a call from the UK, and it's from a lady called Dawn. She's a programming director. She does she works with an online radio station called The Drums, and she also works with a commercial radio station called The Beat London 103.6 FM. And she was like, "Hey, man, like, what are you doing with your life?" You know, and I'm like, "I'm a mixed DJ on radio, and I just recently resigned from being like a radio presenter at YFM." And she was like, "Damn, dude, like, we've been talking about you. We've been trying to find a way to try lure you in to come in to do radio in London. And would you like to do radio in London?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
And yeah, man. And another thing is that because she's been following my influence on the Amapiano sound for like a long time, they offered me an Amapiano show on the Beat London 103.6 FM. You know what I mean? And yeah, like
That's amazing,
that's going
bro.
to happen from the 1st of August.
That's amazing, bro. And also, like, another thing, we should really, guys, if you're watching this, please, we need to stop looking down on our own creation. You know, Amapiano is an authentically South African vibe, you know, and if people in London are asking for a whole show, yeah, Amapiano, come on, guys, we can show more love, better love than we've been doing. I want to just quickly get into other things, because I want to
Yeah.
there's a lecture that you gave at the University of Pretoria at the business school, the Gibbs Business School. And
Yeah.
well, before we actually get to that, let me just play the clip because I got it from your Insta, and then we'll get back with the conversation.
Cool.
Zainlo asked Tyler, the creator, what the best advice he's ever gotten was and who it was from. And he said it was from Pharrell Williams. So Pharrell Williams told Tyler, the creator, do not grow old, grow wiser. Because once you grow old, there's certain things that, whether they're moving or moving the world, you just don't want to adapt to because you feel like, that's where the kids are. But if you're wiser, you're able to engage where the world is going with whatever experience or backhand experience that you've got. And you're able to make more sober-minded decisions in what you want to be in that space and how you want. Why would the most valuable company in the world buy into an emerging headphone brand? Apple has got like advisors for years, so they'll never make an acquisition on anything. They wouldn't buy this bottle of water without sitting around. And you guys are right. They bought into culture. Because if they bought into a headphone brand with tradition, with quality, they would have gone to Techniques, they would have gone to Sony, they would have gone to Monster, they would have gone to Pioneer, because those are traditional brands in the headphone space. But they bought into culture because of cultural collateral that Beats by Dre had.
Yeah, that was your take of the talks that you had called the Gibbs Business School at the University of Pretoria. Firstly, bro, how did you get that? And secondly, I want to know, when you're talking to people about Linko Business School, did they first, especially at first, did they ever become skeptical, or this guy, radio DJ, is coming to talk to us about business?
Very.
Yeah.
Very, bro. Very. I remember I just come off tour. I just come back from Turkey in January. Was it Turkey? Oh yes, it was Turkey and Berlin. So I just come back from Turkey and Berlin, and I got an email, to say, hey man, like, we've been following your, we've been following your journey. We like what you do. We like what you've got to bring to the industry, just from an outlook perspective, and we'd like to invite you to come speak to our MBA class, and these guys are like guys in like management positions. These are CEOs of companies. These are people that like sit on boards of banks and investment companies. So I like throwing myself in the deep end. You know what I mean? Like when I started at Y, I started doing a breakfast show. So I was like, should I do this? Shouldn't I? Should I? This is scary. And I was like, screw that, bro. Like, if there's one person that's going to talk about like the business of culture, it's definitely me. You know what I mean? Because of how I've invested myself in this thing, you know, and how I was able to diversify within the business of culture, and that's what I did, bro. Like, I went there. I was able to raise certain facts and also draw the line between business and how social culture could feed into your business. You know what I mean? How as a microbiologist, you need to look at things like a social media to almost see how your findings can reach more people. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing sitting in a lab, but it's another being able to almost like dumb down the kind of research that you've been working on and sharing it with more people on social media. You know what I mean? And that was like the basis of that talk. Like, it was talking about like being like an unorthodox brand, and also being able to speak to different people, and just being able to speak your truth in a very cool way, you know. And I did really, really well. Funny enough, during that talk, which I did, I think in February, I predicted that Kanye West was going to be a billionaire in April, and it happened. So that's crazy. They actually called me the other day and said, when this lockdown thing is over, we want you again. So yeah, man, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Super. I love that so much, bro. Like, for me, every time I see somebody who's coming from my scene going into and fitting into other, you know, aspects of business unrelated to what we do, I always see that as a plus, because the more of us we have in those positions, in those platforms, it just, you know, it grows the whole scene generally. But before we talk about your international gigs, I want to ask you about what has been some of the most difficult moments for you.
Yo, bro, like, I've had many, man. I've had many. I think, firstly, when you get into the industry, you've got people that you look up to, you know. You've got people that you look up to, people that dropped albums, dropped compilations, dropped music that literally got you through the toughest times, you know, and you almost get into the industry and start gravitating towards building relationships with those people, you know. But over time, and the more you grow, you realize that, oh man, some of these people like aren't really for me. Like, they don't see what I'm doing. They've got other guys that maybe they believe in, or maybe they, you know what I mean, or maybe they just don't see you for shit, you know.
Yeah.
And that for me was like the biggest, harshest reality, you know, about the space that we play in. That okay, it's cool, you know. I don't hate you. I don't hate the impact that you've given to my career for me to be here, you know. But let it just be that, you know. Let it just be the fact that you almost like push me to start, and now like I need to be a leader that is going to be like inclusive for like all the marginalized kids, you know what I mean, Kokas, and not be the same guy that goes into a room and closes the door, you know. So that was hard for me, man. That was hard for me, man. You know, that was hard for me because I think I've got my mistakes. Sometimes I make decisions of ego, and that's growing up. But for the better time, I try to be as genuine and like as approachable as possible as a person, you know. And I was like, you know what, actually screw being part of like the clique, you know what I mean? Let me make my own clique, you know, like let me make my own clique, and a clique that does not speak to almost like being in the scene and being with like the guys that run the scene, you know. But let me think next, you know what I mean? Because and no shade to anybody, like the guys are getting older, they're getting into like proper businesses, they're not running as fast as they used to when they still like impacted me, you know what I mean? And when I still used to run into them. And the industry is going to look for new leaders, you know what I mean? And what does a leader look like, you know? And that's how like I've constantly been trying to like open my brand, you know, to say like I want to be the guy that's going to like smash a party. I want to be the guy that's going to go play overseas. I want to be the guy that's going to be able to say his piece on a radio show, and I want to be the guy that's going to be able to walk into a boardroom or a lecture room and also be able to make sense about what we do as a business, you know what I mean? Which is not something that is conventional in our scene, you know? Like we've always got a business person that thinks they know what we go through. So that was one of the things. Also, the other thing was people overlooking your contribution, man. You know, people overlooking your contribution. I think that's hard. That's definitely hard. I think genuinely, whether you're in music, whether you're a scientist, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are an accountant, when you've worked hard and when you've hit the ceiling or reached the finish line, you want people to clap, you know? And sometimes it doesn't happen. Like, well, most of the time it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know? And you're actually like, you look around and you're like, don't you people see like what I've just done? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I feel you.
Alibun, you know what I mean? Alibun,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And also just growing out of that. And I think also just letting those kind of things not affect me, you know, like I'm a lot closer to family now. I'm a lot closer to friends. I keep on telling people that like I'm probably one of the luckiest people in the world, because my childhood friends, like guys that I went to high school with, that I went to tertiary, are still like my best friends, you know, are still my best friends. So, and most of the time, like those guys, like will give you advice and information that is unfiltered, because they don't need to buy a SLM, you know what I mean? Because you are still the same Kutlano that was sitting at the back of maths class, you know what I mean? And throwing paper planes, you know what I mean? And asking like what you've got for lunch, you know, to them, because they can see this, the KRUK thing. They can see that you're working hard. They can see that you're destined for greater things. But from an honesty perspective, you're still Kutlano that goes through a lot, you know what I mean? And also, I'm also trying to be a better person in like relationships, you know, because the other thing about like Kutokokas is that when you get into a YFM and start gigging with all these guys and whatever, the guys that you grow up with, Kokas, genuinely like Pompa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you start getting attention from girls, you start whatever. And you start losing out on like proper like relationships that like you've had with like real truthful girls that like you've had in your life, you know. And I've lost a couple of those like over the years. Like I've lost a couple of those, but luckily like I was able to make amends, pick up the phone and talk about that I was wrong, you know. And I sit here and like half of my exes are like my friends now. Like we talk about real life things, because I don't take away from the fact that at that point in time, that person contributed to me getting to my next level. You know what I mean? And that's also really important. So yeah, man, like I think the older you grow, the more you try to make amends, and the more you try to put your ego to the side, and when you do make mistakes and you are wrong, you be the first to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that takes wisdom too. You know, like it's not an easy thing to do. To apologize, it's one of the most difficult things. You know, to tell, firstly, to really let your mind know that you were wrong, because we never want to be wrong, you know, as people. Nobody wants to be told that they are wrong, that they suck or whatever. But like, just to acknowledge it yourself, and secondly, you know, to go about and apologize for that. It's a big thing for me, bro. Just before we close quickly, because I do want to ask you about international gigs. You know, you've played a lot. I've got a clip though that people need to see before I do, and let me go there and then we'll come back quick.
Cool.
Napoli, Italy.
Napoli, Italy.
Yeah, man.
Number one for Italy.
Napoli, Italy.
Napoli, Italy.
Italy.
Napoli.
So my name is
The KRUK.
The Crew. I'm DJing tomorrow. Are you guys gonna come?
Yes.
Yeah.
We come to.
So out in Napoli,
We come
Italy.
here together. It's a good DJ.
Gracias.
Napoli, Italy. Hey, my man.
Crazy, man.
Crazy.
Crazy,
I
bro.
love that clip so much. But just to talk about gigging internationally, I mean, you won the X thing and opened for Black Coffee in Ibiza, but you were playing Amsterdam before the X competition, right? Like, I wanna get into just a quick point about, like, most South African DJs would love to play abroad, and you know, I have an extra version of this particular show. I started I'm still trying it out, where it's a more technical one, where we can say this is actually how you can do one thing. And I had guys from the UAE. They're South African, but they're based in the United Arab Emirates, Soul Evokers.
Yeah.
And these guys have been there for 10 years. They started going there. The first jobs that they got in Dubai, one was working at a restaurant. I think he was a waiter, and the other guy was a limousine driver. You know, he just left to go and find better opportunities, and then that's how they started. But now these guys are doing playing at restaurants. They've got a residency at a restaurant, playing 6 days a week. They're getting permits. You know, some of their accommodation money is paid for, and they're getting paid decent amount of money, you know, like 10,000 rands a week, something like that. And it's not such a it's not an easily available information that you would think, actually, I could go work at a restaurant as a DJ and get a permit to be working in Dubai, you know. But with regards to playing abroad, what are some of how would you advise artists who would like to venture into playing Europe and other countries?
I think, to be honest, like it's quite crazy, man. Like it like there is no one way of doing it, and how much you want it will show if you're cut out for it. You know what I mean? I'll tell you a story about the X competition. Like when I entered that X competition, I was already at Y. I had a radio show at Y. I was playing at YFM parties. I was playing at like normal like South African clubs, and like I was making like a decent living on like from DJing, you know. And when I entered the competition, I remember like a couple of like industry guys laughed at me, bro, you know, and they laughed at me, bro. Like it like I remember because the industry is very small, so. If something is going to get to you, it's going to get to you. You know what I mean? And I was laughed at that, like, how Ndwana, like, what are you doing trying to play at like a competition for like up and coming DJs? You know what I mean? Like, aren't you made or whatever? But like, in my mind, it was almost like but this is really just the start for me, dog. You know what I mean? It's really just the start for me, and I really like took that seriously. I think I practice, bro. Like I practice for the competition. Like I practice because I knew that like half of those young guys that were part, or guys that were seen as young that were part of the competition, like were going to bring fire, bro. You know what I mean? Because remember, they don't have radio. They don't have the bit of the hype around them, you know what I mean, and so on and so forth. So like it was another situation where I needed to work like twice as hard, you know. And then I remember meeting Black Coffee and oh well, funny enough, I met Tulo the song first. And reached out to him. And Tulo's like a very soft, like he's a soft spoken guy, man. Like he gives you like one word answers. And I asked him like, dude, like, what's the biggest thing about playing overseas? And he was like return business is based on if you kill the previous gig, and that's it. So if you are going to get an opportunity, kill it, bro, because that could be your first and last gig. And like I've never taken that for granted, you know. I've never taken that for granted. And obviously I won the X competition. I went to Ibiza with Black Coffee. And then there was a point in time where like we're having a dinner and just like chatting to Coffee, just listening to his journey and so on and so forth. And his journey was also like that, man. Like Coffee up and left, guys, you know what I mean? Like he up and left. Like he said, you know what, like I'm here for a greater purpose. I've been doing the South African thing. I've got like dope albums. I've got whatever. But like, I'm here for a greater purpose. You know what I mean? And like started like on ground zero in the UK. You know what I mean? Started on ground zero in different parts of the world. You know what I mean? And built his name. You know, and that's just how like I approach this thing. Like, I was lucky that I was able to like reach out to promoters and use the X thing as a dipstick for them to either listen or for them to give me an opportunity. But I remember for the first year and a half, I didn't get paid a cent, bro. Like I was taking my wife and salary, and I was literally booking my own flights, trying to meet people in those regions, booking my own hotels, just to go DJ. And to be honest, like right now, we're looking at other regions now with the people that I work with. That's probably how it's going to work. You know what I mean? Whatever money that I've made and saved, whatever money that I've made from other gigs, I'm going to plow it back so that when I get the opportunity to actually play and to actually go showcase what I'm about, you know what I mean? I'm not talking to people about booking fees and whatever, because to be honest, like, let us just be honest, like, if you're sitting at home watching this, would you book somebody you don't know? It's very rare, you know what I mean, to book somebody that you don't know and pay them a full fee, you know what I mean? Like, somebody needs to come here, prove themselves first, and so that they can get like the return business. So yeah, man, that's what my strategy has been, and it's worked well, man. Like, if it wasn't for COVID, I think I would have bought like my first property off DJing, because the itinerary was looking really good, and the kind of bookings that we had for the year 2020 was really dope. But it's not a setback, it's not a delay, you know what I mean? It needed to happen for me to go 300 times or 300% even harder when like the dust settled. So it's just been that, man. Like I just backed myself. I just invested in my Tai Chi, and yeah, man, I bet on myself always, every time.
Sure. And were you gonna buy a property from these international gigs?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just wanted to clear that up so that, you know, like, just to share some inspiration, you know, like, guys, please.
Yeah, like, I would have bought, like, my first crib. Like, I'm not a house owner yet. I've been renting forever, but, like, I would have put down a deposit of my first crib with the kind of itinerary that we had during the year 2020.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's delayed. But it is what it is, man. You know? But
I mean, like, it's still gonna happen. You know, like, this is not gonna last forever. It's temporarily. How long it lasts, we don't know. You know, but definitely, it's not something that's gonna be here forever. But I wanna say thank you firstly, you know, like, for joining me this morning, sharing your knowledge, bro. I really, really, really appreciate it. You know, truly, truly do. So, firstly, thank you so much for that.
Man, dope stuff, man. Like I said, man. Like, I'm a fan of what you're doing, you know, because I'm a believer that you're more than a DJ, you're more than a music producer, you know what I mean? There's a storyteller side of you that maybe you might just be like showing like lightly to people, but you've got that, man. And the cool thing about you is that you've almost got an aura where people like easily open up to you, you know what I mean? And that's what makes like Bread for Soul conversations like really, really, really dope. Like before I was on this thing, I was telling you that like I'm a big fan, you know, like I didn't ask for this interview, but I was literally just like picking you up and actually saying like, carry on, dude. Like, this is dope because like nobody has ever thought of like documenting like the story of house music, you know what I mean? Like hip hop does that really well. Gospel does that really well, you know what I mean? But nobody has ever thought of like, let me talk to like all these house music guys and just find out like what the hell is going on with them, you know? And personally, I've learned like a lot, bro, through some of the interviews that you have, you know what I mean? And also I've been able to learn a lot from other people that maybe I didn't give a chance, or maybe that I had overlooked, you know what I mean, in terms of contributions and so on and so forth. So carry on, bro, carry on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I will do that, man. God willing, you know, with all the power that I have, all of the gifts, you know, nothing that we have naturally, really, all of the talents. We didn't work. I mean, like, yes, we're putting in the work, but you didn't ask for that gift. So, you know, it's only my duty as well. I see it as a duty that this has been gifted up, you know, unto me, you know, and it's my duty and responsibility to share it with other people and to use it as best as I possibly can. And tomorrow on the show, I have the legendary Rocco Rodamal from France.
Crazy.
Yeah, man, to come and share his knowledge and experiences, and you know, he's got a wealth of knowledge. Rocco has been a DJ producer for over 30 years now, and you know, some of us have been like, what, 15 years, almost 15 years for me. But you know, to be chatting to people like that, I'm really honored. But anyway, bro, like, I wish you really all the best in all of your endeavors, you know, entertainment side and the family business things and everything that you really put yourself into. I really just wish you all the best in that, bro. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and please, if you enjoyed the video, tag somebody who might enjoy it too, tag somebody who might like the video in the comment section. And tomorrow, like I said, I've got Rocco Rodamal. This week also coming, I've got Piquet the Italian and Osunlade as one of the guests as well. So look up for that. Otherwise, let's all remember to stay creative and stay safe. Peace out.